All right, hi, I'm Don Varney, and the thing we're going to do today is we're going to talk about corporate public speaking versus motivational or inspirational. The very first thing you want to do is what I'm doing right now is actually motivational speaking. I'm that guy, that high power energy. I've got it happening. I'm making you excited. You're excited. Man, you don't know whether to stand up, sit down. You're just having too much fun. That's motivational. Well, that won't work in a boardroom. That won't work in a sales meeting. That really won't work when you're trying to put things out to your employees. But then there's the other one, the inspirational, and that's when I sit and I go, you know, things in your life have happened, and they've happened for a reason. You can be anything you want. You've created that. You're there. That's that inspiration. Chances are that's not going to work real well in a corporate setting. At least let's put it this way. In the boardrooms I've been in, and in my meetings, if I came on with those, most of the people in the room would do one of these. Is Varney at it again? What in the world are we talking about? So when we look at the different areas, we really look at the different types of meetings. Now, I use a boardroom to get us started, and the reason being is the fellow on TV with that some kind of an apprenticeship program is really doing a great job of being king of the boardroom, sitting there and absolutely controlling an environment right before he says you no longer have a job with his infamous words, which I'm not going to say. That type of meeting requires a whole different mindset, a whole different personality, and then a whole different purpose. Now, I do like to have, I'm going to ask questions, and I'd love to have people answer some of these questions when we're at this today, so I'm going to ask you to be kind of involved with it, and then I'll repeat your answers just to make sure that we're on the same page. But when you look at that type of a situation to where you have what I call the king sitting on one side with his princes and princesses sitting off to the left and the right, and then you have the others on the other side of the table. If you were to say, what does that really mean? What am I trying to portray if I'm the king, and these are my chosen few that sit with me? What am I really trying to portray there? Sue, I'll ask you.
Power, power, power.
Power, power, power. Anybody else got anything besides power? I think you're right. Because bottom line, I'm telling you, and make sure there is no doubt in your mind, I'm king. And I'm in control, and I am going to make decisions today whether you like them or not. Now that's one type of a boardroom. Well, obviously, that type of a person can't come in being that motivational or inspirational person that we talked about. If you'll notice, when that person enters the room, they're all business. It's like boom, 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 bang, boom, and it's like, it's all business. Now, is there a reason for that? Is there a good purpose for that in y'all's business life or in a corporate business life? Dave, you're a doctor. You've been in business a lot. You're chewing a little bit, and I'm giving you a chance. What do you think might be a reason for somebody to want to have that caliber of a meeting?
I think that basically, and I'm thinking of Donald Trump, I think that basically he wants everybody to know he's the key decision maker. And the way he stations himself, these people on the side, convey that. And his message and his tone of voice and his expressions indicate, I'm it.
Mm-hmm.
And just if I can use an aside, I think one of the problems that Obama has as president, he tends for some people to give off an arrogance, just in his mannerism.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think he means it intentionally, but I think that that's, and on contrast, Bush was very poor at communicating with the public. He was very good on one-on-one. And another example is Lyndon Johnson. Lyndon Johnson was terrible when he got up to the mic. But I'll tell you, when you went one-on-one and he put his arm around you and he squeezed your hand, but you see, he had the power. He knew where all the skeletons were. So not only did he have the handshake and the emotions, but he had the power to get things done.
Yeah. And I think what you're saying, they're using the analogies of three very distinctive personalities and very different types. You've got the one who, through confidence, can be considered arrogant. I mean, you could call the guy, you mentioned the name Donald Trump. You certainly could call that an arrogance. You certainly could look at George Bush as a good old boy, trying to make things happen. I'm just a good old boy. And then, of course, you had Lyndon Johnson as your other one, who's in between that good old boy and arrogance, because if you read the history on that fella, that was a guy who was dead serious about what he did. And when he was deciding to make it happen, he pushed it through, whether you liked it or not.
That's right.
And that was some of the things that people don't know. So you take a look at what we just talked about, which is the boardroom, the corporate room. I'm coming in with a prepared plan to have this meeting do one thing and one thing only, and that is to ensure that everybody in that room understands what I'm getting ready to talk about isn't a suggestion. We're making rules today. These are the rules, and you're going to do the rules. And I brought in really two people with me that I have on the left and the right. Some are high-powered, some are the CFO, some are the CEO, some are the children, some are whatever. But I've got these two people, and their job is to edify everything that I, the king, am saying. So if I look at them and I say, tell me, what do you think about that, Donald Jr.? Well, Donald Jr. is not going to say, well, Donald, I think that's a bunch of hooey. He's going to go, oh, that's a great idea. I agree with you, I think, and then powers in asking more questions. The thing that I'm always excited about when you talk about the power that's in that environment, you have two children that recently graduated from college, grew up in the family, but really and truly, what have they done in the corporate world on their own, without the Trump name behind it, that would say, I really need to listen to what you have to say. But when I walk in the room and they trail along behind me and go to their respective seats, what immediately happens? They're credible, because nobody in the room is going to doubt them. Period. So when you look at it corporately, how would you utilize a scenario like that in your business? Well, you don't have to be as bold as that, but you can be bold in the sense that you don't need to have that I am king scenario. What you have to have is I'm the boss. I'm in control. I'm the one making the decisions here. I'm the one whose name's on the bottom line. I'm the one that writes the checks. Basically, I am, but I don't want to be that arrogant. I don't want to be that bossy. But it's like, I'm not here to make suggestions today. An environment for me back in the 80s was I had to do that in a business that I was involved in. I had to walk into a room one day and say, I just want to let everybody know that today everyone is fired. You have to apply for your job today. I don't want everyone to leave, because I think some of you are very talented. But in order for me to make this work the way I see it working, I have to fire you, and you have to earn your job back. So that went over real well. You can imagine the motivation and inspiration that was in that room that moment. I mean, I had people that were like, huh? And I go, we'll make decisions, but here's why I'm firing you. I'm starting fresh. When this meeting is over, the rules are changing in this company, and they're changing immediately. They're not changing tomorrow. They're changing immediately when I say the meeting is over. It's over. It's over. Time to go to work. You're going to work under the new rules, and that's that. Did I enjoy doing that? No. Just in a little way. No, not really. Didn't enjoy it. Not fun at all. But the thing that was horrible about it was when I made the decision that this is what was going to happen in the company, in order for the company to grow. And this company, by the way, was the last place company in the nation in what they did. So I really had nowhere to go. I could have personally done it myself and probably raised it up 1 or 2 notches, which would have been better than they had. But what was happening was you had that sense in this company Nobody's going to fire me. I'm secure in my job. I've been here. And they kind of felt like they had homesteaders' rights to their job and that nobody would make a decision. And when they hired me to come in, that decision had to be made. Now, Dave.
One of the things that's very critical here, though, and it's true in business, it's true in almost anything, and you see it play out of me with SCORE, you have to follow through. And many people don't follow through. They'll say they're going to do something, they don't do it.
That's right.
So I have found that the follow-through is extremely important.
It's critical, Dave, and thank you for that, because without follow-through, why bother?
Yeah.
It's almost like the parent that says to the child, if you do that, I'm going to ground you. And then, of course, the child does that. And then, of course, the child's waiting for the grounding. It doesn't come, so they go, oh, I can do that now. And then you get the idle threat again. You can't have idle threats. You have to be real when you're doing that kind of a power meeting. Well, when I walked into that room, obviously I wasn't being friendly. I didn't want friends. I didn't want to make friends. I didn't want to high-five people. I didn't want to shake hands. I didn't want to do anything. I literally walked in that room and down to business within 30 seconds. Now, what came out of that type of a meeting was, because it was so serious and because it was that type of a meeting that was meant to have a definite conclusion, well thought out, laid out, planned out, had key people with me that knew exactly what was getting ready to happen, that this wasn't an issue of a surprise to a certain number of people, but it was a total surprise to others, was the fact that when I made that decision, you could have heard a pin drop. But let me tell you what happened. Every single person in that room hung on every word that I said on how to keep their job. And then they had to make a decision. And I will tell you this, that 60% of the people chose not to stay.
On their own.
On their own. At the end of the meeting, I said, anyone that would like to stay and apply for their job, stay seated. Anyone else can leave. We're taking a 10-minute break. When I come back, those seated at the table, I assume want to work here. And if you're not here, I don't have to worry about you. And that was the end of it. I had 6 out of 10 left. Now, the good news was that they just made an impulse decision because the 40% that stayed made more money than they'd ever made in their life by staying with the deal, going with the new ideas, going with the new plan, staying focused, no longer having to make a decision what to do. They had been taught, here are the steps. It's kind of like if you're building something, if you don't build a foundation, if you don't put this in place, this in place, this in place, it falls over. Sorry about that. I just remembered I have an architectural major in the audience today, and here I am building a building. I'm sorry, I build things. I'm a building block person. But you've got to lay it in, and that's what started there. So when you see that type of meeting, is there anyone in the room that thinks in their business they might ever have to have that kind of a meeting? Yeah? Got one? Got two? No? Yeah, 3. Okay. So we got about 3 or 4 people that say, yeah, probably could. All right. Now those aren't fun meetings. So we're going to do a little transition now. We're going to go to an informational meeting. Now this is more fun. We could talk about the fact what I just did was an informational meeting. It's like, here's the information, like it or leave. But we're not going to do that now. Now it's just information. So do you have the boardroom set up? Or do you have it a more cozier environment? Do I walk through a door and position myself on this side and all the others are on that side? Or do maybe we come in and I just join the table? Or is it something that maybe I'll just kind of like we're doing today, to where we've got you all here and I'm just kind of here, but I'm moving in, trying to let you know I'm reachable, I'm attainable, you can talk to me. I'm not up here saying this is how it is. I'm up here saying, here's the information. This is what we're looking for. Let's talk about it. Let's do some feedback. Let's really get involved. Now, an informational meeting falls into a lot of different little categories, but just think about the most basic one. And that is you're a company that has now a new technical change that's happening in your company. I'll use law. Law would be a good one. New law came out. That happens, right? Occasionally a new law does come into the United States of America. New law. Well, you have a team, and your team this new law affects your business. Because whatever it is, that's the type of law that you do. And you need to bring your team together and say, okay, let's talk about this new law. It's just a kind of a very vague idea, but the idea is you want to sit down, you want to have dialogue, you want to explain the law, you want them to ask questions so that everybody's on the same page with this new law. The same thing with your company. If you have something that is a new technique in what y'all do with your companies, well, you can't just send a memo and hope they get it. It's probably something that should be discussed in a very formal but informal meeting. That's where it separates. It's formal in the sense that this is what we're going to do, A, B, C, but I'm a little more casual. You know, maybe I don't have a tie on. Maybe I don't have a power suit on. Maybe this is the day I wear a sports coat. This is the day that I'm casual. Maybe I don't even have a tie. But I'm ensuring that everybody gets this new information. So that's an informational type of meeting. Okay? Now, here's where we're going to have a little fun. I would like, and I know I'm going to have to beg Dave to do this, but I would like to have y'all come up one by one. And what I want you to do, in about 30 seconds, I want you to start a boardroom meeting, and then I want you to stop, and then I want you to start an informational meeting. Now give it that little thought. Let that kind of start rolling in your head a little bit. And the reason I want you to do that is not that I'm trying to bring you up to so you can do that here, but the idea, and one of the key points to running a meeting, is just like anything you do well in life, you have to practice it. See, and this is one of the things that I talk about when I'm teaching people how to run meetings or how to speak or how to get in front of a crowd. I tell them if you don't practice, when you get in front of the crowd, you're not prepared. And if you're not prepared, you become this person that says, we're here today for food for thought. And I have slides. And as it says right here, number one, and they never look at you again until all their slides are done. Anybody ever seen that person? You know, my thinking is if you have slides, let me read it. Hopefully I've gone to school long enough that I can read a basic slide. You can add detail to it, but please don't read it to me. You know, please. Practice, preparation.
They're reading it. I already read it, and they're still reading it.
Well, and it goes back to practice and preparation. They also haven't taken the time to learn to understand what they're supposed to do in a meeting, and that's why today we're just going to have a little fun with this introduce the meeting. There is no good or bad in what we're getting ready to do. It's nothing more than giving you one shot at practice, just so that you can go, that was easier than I thought. Or, that was harder than I thought. And I really don't care. You can go right into your area of expertise and introduce that meeting, whatever it is. But how would you do that? So the first one is, we're going to start with the corporate meeting, the one we talked about at the beginning, and the second one is the informational meeting. So you got about 30 seconds to do both, is all that we need here. And Dave has already volunteered to be my first guy. And that's just because I've known him a long time and I'm going to pick on him. So Dave, why don't you come up, stand right here, and do that. Start your corporate meeting and start your, as they say in the old movies, your informational meeting. And I've got you on time too, buddy.
Members of the board, I've called you together for a very important announcement. Our vice president for marketing has left unexpectedly, and we're going to have to select a new vice president. After careful thought, I've decided that Joe Smith will be our new vice president. Let's give Joe Smith a big round of applause.
Perfect. All right, there. Now, the informational one. Now we're just a new information.
Right. Ladies and gentlemen, we're so happy to have you as census enumerators. But there's important information that I want to get across to you. You know the little X's that you put? They have to be within the box because the computer won't take them otherwise. So I'm having to return a lot of your census questionnaires because of the fact that they don't have the X's in the little box. So please take the time to make the little X all within the box.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dave. Appreciate that.
You're welcome.
All right, that was great. Now,
You can pay me later.
I can pay you later. All right, who'd like to be next? Oh, good. Come on, Tina. No, we want, because we were doing that boy-girl thing, so we want to make sure we keep that going. Come on.
Let's give her a hand.
Yeah.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. I brought together all of you today to discuss new policies and procedures. I'm passing out the agendas. They have the objectives. They have our goals. They have the resolutions that we need, and we need execution to all this. So today we're going to go through this. We're going to do it in a timely manner, and we're going to get our resolutions and get results so we can implement today.
Excellent. Great. That was great. All right, now, informational.
Informational. Hi, everyone. We've gathered together today. We have a new policy and procedures. We're going to pass it around. Let's see what works, what doesn't work for all of us. I look for your feedback, some of your ideas, so that we can go through it and really find what works best for us today.
That's great. Thank you, Tina. That was awesome. All right, next. That's good. We do the applause. We can have that motivation in our corporate meeting.
You say you don't want the applause?
No, we can do the applause. You betcha. This is taking a little something to step up here. It's all you, baby.
Hi, everyone. Really, the reason that we're here today is in the last couple of years, we've had some issues where nobody's decided to show up on the day after Thanksgiving. Well, I'm here to tell you today that that's not going to happen this year. Basically, you have one choice. It has to be here tomorrow or the day after Thanksgiving, 2 days from now. And if you're not, then you basically, I wouldn't bother coming back.
That's one. I do a little information.
Actually, that's a real one.
Yeah.
That's a real one.
Hey guys, I appreciate you guys coming in today. Listen, what we need to do is we need to cover a little bit of material. The last couple of weeks, the timesheets have not been put in right, and I'm not sure where the breakdown is. I think it may be that we're not exactly sure on what process we need to do to get those timesheets in. So we're gonna cover that. And if you have any questions, let's just stop and ask me, and let's make sure that we all walk out of here knowing what we're supposed to be doing.
That's great. Awesome. Thanks, Dan. All right, who wants to be next? Come on.
Susie.
Court will come to order. The case of the United States of America against Don Varney for the criminal charges of something really awful. Ladies and gentlemen of the court, and ladies and gentlemen of the jury panel, you are here today as potential jurors in this very important criminal case.
Perfect. Okay, good. Now, a little information.
Okay.
Do a little information meeting.
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury panel, my name is Susan Kilgore. I'm an attorney, and I'm here representing Don Varney. He is the defendant in this case, as you've heard the judge describe. Now, our opportunity in the next few minutes is the only one we're going to have in which you'll be able to ask me questions, and I'll be able to ask you questions and get answers from you.
Perfect. That's great. Thank you, Sue. Next.
Okay, I am having this board meeting so we can support Don Varney in his legal matter that it's very serious. So I need the board to come together so we can show support so we can defend him all the way.
Perfect. Information.
Okay, for the informational, we need to really, really support Don. You know, we need to have those banners. We need to have the food he likes out there. Make sure you get on the phone and make those phone calls. And for you, I need those brownies on the tables that he really enjoys. We need to show him that we are here to back him up.
Excellent. Thank you.
I support Don.
Yeah. Everybody else good? We're good with everybody that wanted to do it?
I almost took the podium one.
Last call?
You probably did. You'll
No.
probably defeat the charges. You'll probably
Yes.
get acquitted.
Okay. Thank you. We'll take a moment with that. Now, let's talk about this for just a second. We saw X number of people come up with X different ideas, and what do you think? Was the message clear? When you were sitting there, did you understand the board versus the information? Did everybody, was there a clear line with every single one of them, do you feel? Just sort of yes, no, yeah? Okay. Now, how did you feel when you walked up here, Tina, and you had to be the queen? This is my board meeting. How'd that make you feel?
Powerful. Because I
Powerful.
knew I needed resolution and an execution to whatever the
Okay.
objective is.
Okay. So you had that sense of power. How about you, Stan?
Felt fairly comfortable whenever my personality does not lend itself to that overly aggressive kind of personality. So that's something I have to actually work at it, but I've known that for years. It's
Okay.
not just-
Okay. Sue? Susan, I'm sorry.
Well, I love being in charge. So.
That was a good one.
This is luminous.
Is that when we say anytime I have a meeting like that, I can call you?
You got it.
That's awesome. Dave?
I wanted to say there's a big distinction, I think, between nonprofits and business. And I thought it'd be interesting for the groups. Susie knows this because she's a Rotarian. But Rotary is one of the few organizations that changes leaders every year. 32,000 Rotary clubs all around the world. And you have all these different personalities. Of course, there's a training program that goes through. But it's really remarkable. Can you imagine what it'd be like if in the business world every business changed leaders every year?
It would be interesting.
One of the reasons Rotary's been successful is you bring new ideas and new things. But you have to be very careful. You can't employ the Donald Trump very often in a Rotary meeting. You have to, it's more of an informational than it is we're going to do this. Once in a while, you can get away with it. But I just think people need to understand there's a real difference. I'm thinking of the SCORE meetings that we have once a month. The real difference between a board meeting or a business situation and with a nonprofit.
Mm-hmm. And I think you're right, because in a nonprofit, anytime you're looking at a scenario like that, you are looking at your hand is kind of out because you are wanting people to join you or pay you, not you personally, but the nonprofit, in order for it to continue growing or doing what the work is that it's decided to do. So you have that scenario which is different. If I'm the board, if I'm the president of my mega company, my hand isn't out. I really don't even want to shake your hand.
No.
You see it, and you see it in, we won't pick on too many people today as far as out there. Everybody in this room is great. But what you'll see, when you see powerful people, they don't touch other people traditionally. Think about that. When I walk into a room, not me, but if I'm that person, I don't walk in and go, "Hi, how you doing? Good to see you. Good to see you. Good to see you." When I walk in, it's almost like I've been announced, even though I haven't. And the room goes, and then they follow me to where I'm going, and I don't touch people. That's that power that can be done if you have to have that kind of a meeting.
But really big people, Don, are announced. You think of the President of the United States, the Queen of England, the Speaker of the House. I mean, there is a pecking order, even in the Congress, that is there.
Well, that's that protocol for those positions.
Yeah.
And we're talking more corporate today.
Right.
So I don't know how much fun it would be if every time I walked in the room they said, "Announcing the president of the company, Donald R. Varney."
Right.
That probably wouldn't go over real well. Everybody would go, Yes.
I just wanted to make a couple of comments. A lot of when we did all these, everybody was controlling that situation with their presence and their voice. But a couple of things that I mean, and obviously these are obvious points in some degree, especially obviously body language, positioning, location, height of your seat, everything, all those types of things can come into play. But one of the things that I've learned, even from a sales side, but not necessarily from the person that's being sold, not the president of the company, but you, as a salesperson even, you want to also, your job is to control that meeting as well. And one of the ways that I found it has been very helpful is by a simple, basic agenda. And that just sets the stage that, hey, I'm presenting an agenda, and yet this is an agenda that I intend to follow. So even subconsciously, you're trying to set yourself into control of those types of things. But anyway, just a little bit of...
No, that's perfect, because that's actually a part of where we're going to go with the end of this series into the next one that we'll be doing, is the preparation along with the practice. I use sports as a good way to do it because I played sports. And with me, I could be a great athlete, but if I didn't know the play, if I hadn't prepared academically, physically, looked at the play and understood that when they called a jet blue right on 4 red, if I didn't know what that meant, I could stand out there all day long just twiddling my thumbs, standing still and just watching the ball. And then when I see the ball move as a football player, then I go, I can legally move now. I don't know where I'm going, but I'm going to be running around out here and hopefully they'll throw me the ball. So preparation for a meeting is where a lot of people mess up. And that was where we jokingly laughed about the ones who feel they have to read the slide. Chances are they prepared the slide by typing it in, putting it in a PowerPoint, saving it, and then the next time they opened it was at the meeting. So what they're doing is they're practicing while they're having their meeting, and they're practicing by reading their own notes, is basically what it amounts to. No one in this room was thrilled with that technique, so hopefully we don't use that technique. You have to practice. You have to be prepared. You have to take the time to write notes down, as I did. If any of you all look down, I had some basic notes that I needed to follow today. And they're there because this is what I wanted to cover in the time that I was allotted to do. And knowing that we were going to be able to move over to another session, this is going to be great. So, taking what we've done today, you'll love this. I'll practice what I preach. Good morning. It's a very simple thing. This meeting's agenda is done, and this meeting is over. Woohoo! So that's how we could have closed this meeting today, using the boardroom technique. And that, in essence, is where we are. We are done for today. I want to give time for anybody that would like to just ask a question or whatever. Anybody that has to leave, you're free to stand up and go, because I know as a business person we all have things that we need to do and our time is valuable. And Dave wants to say something.